Here we go, I guess. Is it working? Is it public? Looks like it's public, so I'm gonna assume that it is working. Yep, looks like it's working. Cool. So I guess I should announce it. Ah, damn it. Nope. Cool. So, stream's now announced. And as always, I don't have a plan for the start of the stream, so if people aren't going to submit anything, we're just going to sit here in awkward silence. Because I'm a professional YouTuber. Can you test the CL26 kit instead? What, on stream? No. Like, I don't even know what you... Well, I have some ideas that I want to... For what I want to do with those... actually, I have 2 kits, but what I want to do with them. But yeah, we're not doing that on stream. Because doing anything on stream makes it take twice as long and also makes it half as effective. X870 Steel Legend board any good? I don't know, I haven't looked at it. It's probably fine. Like, the thing with AM5 is the requirements for the motherboards aren't actually really that high. Like, you don't need a lot of power delivery for a 9800X 3D. So, yeah. And ASRock, yeah, so it uses an 8-layer PCB, so I'm gonna assume that it's like the same topology as the Tai Chi, and the Tai Chi's fine, so this will be fine too. So, any recommended reading? Unfortunately, for what? For like memory, like about memory, or just learning to overclock in general. Yeah. The thing is, I learned how to overclock back in the DDR3 days, back when things could overclock. See, that's the funny thing about modern hardware is we have more toggles for overclocking than ever before, and yet it doesn't overclock basically at all. So, yeah. Good Ivy Bridge EP do? I think like 4.6 to 4.8. Core clock, I think like 4.8 is really high for an Ivy Bridge. And memory, I think 2666 or higher. Would ECC be more stress on the memory controller? I don't think so, because it would be like separate ports. Though I guess the extra like the extra circuitry might not be as good as the main portion of the memory controller. I would like to OC my 5900X. Those don't really have a lot of headroom. Is Arrow Lake junk? According to everybody else, yes, and I don't plan to waste time finding out for myself. Like, yeah. Like Arrow Lake is so not like according to literally everyone, it's slow and it's also really expensive. So it's like if I wanted an Intel CPU, I'd buy a 14700K. Is kind of my thought process on that. I mentioned if RAM is not synchronized, this is bad. But if you're at 8,000, like, it'll just be a 2,000 FCLK and that'll be synchronized. Hey, we finally have a submission. I think, unless I'm blind. There might have been one earlier and I missed it. Well, let's see. Oh no, it's an Intel system. Well, we're off to a strong start. Yeah, okay. Z790 Aorus Master X, 7600. That makes sense for those boards. Right. There's comment. Titanium 8000. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Actually, that's not true. If you get a good CPU, the X series boards from Gigabyte can sometimes run 8000. Like, I've seen somebody else manage it, but for me, like, I've struggled to do 7600 on those. Downclock to keep voltage under 1.55. So this is the thing with the Intel memory controller. I don't know. On AMD, you don't need memory voltage to run high frequencies because high memory frequency, at least with Hynix, is primarily about the I/O circuitry having enough voltage to run at a high frequency, and it doesn't need a lot of voltage to do that. So the like really high VDD that you usually that I occasionally use, like that's about getting the timings down. That's not about getting the frequency to work. But the Intel memory controller is a mess. So I'd like, if you try to do that style of like tuning voltages that you would do on AMD, that doesn't tend to work on Intel because just I don't understand how the Intel memory controller works. So yeah. Anyway, so this is at 1.55 volts, 34, 45, 45, 65, 2T, 12, 4, 592. So this is 24 gigabit. Yeah. 12, 4, 592. Man, that is a really high refresh interval. 47 TWR, RTP12, 16, 8, 22, 22, 26. What is this? This is Z790. Why is your TW right to right same group so high? There's no reason to leave it that high. Like, that should be able to work at like 14 or even 12 at 7600. Though, like, write bandwidth isn't really that important most of the time, so, you know, it's not a huge deal, but yeah, just kind of weird. 64, 54. That 54 is probably higher than it needs to be. 83, 84. Yeah, that looks fine. Can't go lower without significantly. Yeah, that's normal. Actually, I'd be surprised if you could push TRFC down much below what it's at already. CL32. Yeah, the thing with cast latency is like it looks cool in screenshots and it doesn't really do anything for benchmarks that aren't IDA. Like, that was kind of the point of the recent video I did about like all the AMD memory timings is like the reason cast latency doesn't matter very much is because you have all these other timings that are actually important because there's like 32 memory banks. So if the memory controller is doing a halfway decent job of its job, it's not really going to be limited by cast latency under most circumstances because it's going to parallelize all of your read and write operations anyway. So, yeah, I also have a video showing like how cast latency basically does nothing. Though I kind of cheated that because the what I did in that video to make that difference was that I like one of the setups just had a significantly higher refresh interval. The other one was auto refresh interval, but low cast latency, and then the good setup was just really high refresh interval with terrible cast latency. But yeah, like that's the thing. It's just like cast latency looks really important when you run something like IDA because that's like a single memory request. So the memory controller can't really optimize it in any way because there's nothing to optimize. It's like not a realistic workload at all. That's also why like the latency killer thing that you see on some AMD motherboards now, like if you actually turn that on, it makes games perform worse. because it's basically an IDA hack. And so the optimization that the memory controller and the CPU is doing for memory accesses that actually improves gaming performance hurts IDA because the reordering of the memory requests has some overhead. So if you don't actually have any memory load, you just have the overhead, which is why IDA hates it, because IDA is a terrible memory test. Actually, I'll just pull up the article. Where is it? What? Can't I find it? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So we don't need, you can see in all of the graphs, right? You turn the latency killer on and the FPS goes down because real games have more than a single memory request every several milliseconds, right? Because every single frame you're going to be going through a whole bunch of game data that sits in the RAM, so the CPU can actually optimize around that. Whereas the IDA latency test, you can't optimize around it because there's nothing to optimize, and so it just becomes a test of hey, how low is your CAS latency and TRCD potentially. Also, the reason the IDA latency test is so heavily affected by power down mode is because it's so low load that the memory controller literally goes to sleep trying to run it, because it's well, I'm not doing anything 99.9% of the time, so why should I keep the memory awake? Let's put it in power down. And yeah, and then you get this kind of behavior where it's oh, literally everything. Actually, I think Cyberpunk is, yeah, so Cyberpunk is the one game where the latency killer doesn't make things worse. But basically anywhere else, turning latency killer on makes performance worse because real games don't have one memory request every 10 milliseconds. That's actually what the IDA memory latency test looks like, at least from what I could see on the oscilloscope, because you could see how the CPU basically goes to sleep, and then it wakes up, and then it goes back to sleep. And so it's just oh, yeah, it's a great benchmark. Truly, accurate way of measuring memory performance. Because basically the IDA latency test makes all of the advantages of just modern memory systems just irrelevant, because that's also why I think the lowest IDA latency ever measured is on actually DDR2 CPUs. Because it's such a terrible test. Also why simpler memory controllers are actually better at it. Skylake gets lower latency than literally everything Intel made for DDR. Everything else Intel made for DDR4, it has worse latency than Skylake does in IDA. So yeah. Anyway, there's another submission, so I guess we'll take a look at that. I am very bad at copy pasting links, apparently. Oh, this one's a Ryzen one. Cool. And is it generic Hynix timings? Yes, for 48 gig. Got 30, 36, 36, 36, 30, 66, 8, 10, 32, 4, 14. I'm surprised that you can run TRAS 30. Then again, this is 2x48, and I've mainly ran into the issue with TRAS on 2x32. I've actually got another 2x32 kit that, I want to make a video about sometime later this week. And again, it's another one of those kits where, if I set TRAS to 30, it's just not stable. I don't know why, but that's just, the second time I've had that happen, and it's always 2x32 gig kits. So, yeah. But now I also have a 2x32 gig from G-Skill, so that'll probably do that too. But if that happens again, then it's okay, for dual rank, you can't, at least dual rank 2x32, you can't slam TRAS. But anyway, so yeah, so that all looks fine. TRFC 540, SCL 4, 2, 12, 16, 4, 6, 6, 8, 8. Yeah, this all looks good. And then 2066 Infinity Fabric at 1.28 VSOC. Oh, so that memory controller is not great, I'm guessing. But yeah, the timings look fine. So That's cool. Also, if anybody's wondering, that pull down resistance is probably, I mean, pull up resistance over here is probably misreporting. 'Cause that's been like a real issue with Zen timings in my experience, is that like I manually set the Proco DT settings in the BIOS, and then I'd check them in Zen timings, and it wouldn't read them correctly. So this is like kind of bugged out right now. Anyway, oh no, I scrolled in chat and now I'm lost. Is it possible to run dual 2x32 at 8,000? I think I've seen screenshots of it. I've not, well, okay, on Arrow Lake, apparently it works. I've also seen some screenshots of it on Ryzen, but I haven't done it myself, so I don't know what goes into it. Okay, there's another submission. Let's see. Trash Ram got it off eBay with another kit, but that was 16M die again. 7700X does 6400. Had errors until I tuned the VDDP down between 925 and 945 most stable. Yeah, at low frequencies, the VDDP really doesn't need to be very high. But I'm surprised that it's this sensitive. Then again, this is a 7000 series, so the like AMD did put some extra work into tuning the firmware for 9000 series with the memory controller. So yeah, 9000 series is actually like easier to work with in terms of memory overclocking, even though like it's technically kind of the same memory controller. It's just, you know, better tuned, I guess. Is the way to put it. CL40 was stable at 1.45. This memory kit is not great if you're at TRCD 49. RTTWR being set to off doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Though it could also be misreporting again. But yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Is that TREFI necessary for stability with this? Because if it is, I would just not run this. Like, I would just run 6400 with much higher TREFI. Because that makes more of a difference than, like, anything else you can do. Can I use the 6200 CL30 profile on a 7800 X3D? You mean from the spreadsheets? Yeah. Like, that's kind of... Well, like, I don't know if your 7800 X3D is going to be able to run it. The one in my daily system isn't, because the one in my daily system doesn't work at 6200 at all in 1-to-1. But assuming you don't have a completely potato CPU, it should just work. Also, if you're on the $5 Patreon tier, you could just use you could try the M-die profile if the A-die profile doesn't work. Because that's like the main difference between M-die and A-die, is that M-die is just looser. So like A-die will do everything that M-die does, but M-die doesn't do everything that A-die does. But yeah. Also you won't have access to TRC-DWR, which doesn't really matter. So yeah. Like, this looks fine, I get. Well, like, I would prioritize having a good TREFI. Wait, am I reading that wrong? Oh, I'm reading that wrong. It's 49,000. Why is it 49,151? Where did you dig that out of? Is that a prime number? What's latency killer? It basically disables some memory optimization on on AMD CPUs that makes IDA think the latency is lower, and makes game performance worse. It's a setting in the BIOS. Like Asus also has that. They have like a core tuning for gaming thing, and it's just like don't use it because it turns out the engineers at AMD know what they're doing when it comes to tuning the like CPU's prefetcher and stuff. And IDA is a bad benchmark. Which is why I don't show it in videos anymore, because I really wish people would just forget that it exists. Anyway, there's another submission in super chat form, so let's take a look at that. I put so much effort into 6400 and it isn't stable. Yeah, wait, is this a 9800X3D? Yep. Yeah, I have the same problem. At least you're able to do 2200 FCLK, because I couldn't get even that to work with mine, which is really annoying. Ended up with this, passes... Also, Nitro 120 passes VT3, but erroring on OCCT. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, I just leave it at this, though. If you have an exit... Wait, is this... Oh, this is 64 gigs. Yeah, I would just leave this alone at this point. I wouldn't do anything with this. Like, you're on a 9800X3D, so, like, pushing this further isn't really going to make much of a difference. Either, so... Yeah. I would just leave it alone. Because, like the thing is, the big performance uplift you get in memory tuning is going from expo to not expo timings, right? And then, like, pushing significantly past that actually just doesn't make that much of a difference anymore. Because what you need to consider is that expo is so bad that, like, it's really easy to get a big improvement from expo. But then, like, once you've got that first big improvement, past that point, things don't really change anymore. So... Yeah, like, for, like, a system that you use every day, I would just leave this alone at this point. I have a G-Skill 6000 CL32 kit, ASRock B650, and a 7800X3D. Which profile do you recommend for tuning my RAMs? I want something like 6000 and CL30. Wait, is this a follow-up? Wait, no, that is a follow-up. Yeah, just use the try any of the profiles. Like, you could try this, like, if you're lucky, the 6400 profile might work. Like, that's why there's 3 of them. Man, this is what I get. I was, like, this is what I get for, like, trying to provide more information is just, like, I was unhappy with the, like, easy Hynix timings being just, like, a one-size-fits-all solution, which leaves performance on the table on, like, better CPUs and better memory kits. So I make a spreadsheet which gives you some, like, options that you can try, and then I get people asking, like, well, which option do I try? No, I should have just given you one option. This is why, like, Apple users in my chat. This is why MacBooks are popular. Why do you want settings on your hardware? Where's what? There's, like, a bunch of timing profiles on Patreon. And then, like, I have a whole bunch of videos. Like, you could just copy the timings out of that. And actually, there's a whole bunch of, I think, free text posts on Patreon? I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think they're whatever the defaults do, so they're probably not free. But, like, I have a bunch of videos. Just, like, watch any of them for, like, a Ryzen 7000 or a 9000 series. Because at least in one-to-one mode, generally the auto settings kind of work. Yeah. Should I get a 2-DIM AM5 boards? Or the boards with Nitro the same? Honestly, so far, I've found the Tomahawk from MSI to be the, like... I haven't tested a lot of 1 DIMM per channel boards, because there's not a lot of them, but the Tomahawk has just been kind of the easiest to work with. Which just goes to show you that just because you have better topology doesn't mean you necessarily did a good job of the BIOS. Because yeah, MSI's Tomahawk like really doesn't do anything fancy, and it's just, but it just works. It's great. Right? Whereas Asus is like back drilling the memory traces and nitro path and all of that, and it's just like, and yeah, I can't really tell like, as far as I can tell, the Hero and the Tomahawk are about the same, and the Tomahawk seems to actually be more flexible in terms of which memory kits work. So, at like DDR5 8000. And then the ITX, well, the only ITX I've tested is the Asus one so far. And that one does seem to be a bit better than the Hero. Though, again, I haven't tried as many memory kits on it as I did on the Tomahawk, so I don't know if, like, for flexibility, if it's better or not. Anyway, there is another Super Chat submission, so I'll take a look at that. And what do we have here? Oh, look, generic MDI timings, except at very high VDD, so it's at CL34. Oh, well, 34, 47, 47, 44, that's a 9800 X3D. Oh, you're on a Hero. Okay, that explains why the TRC-DWR is at 47. 44, 54, 98, 8, 10, 32, 4, 16, 640, 66. I'm surprised that you have that working. Because I've tried that in the past, and it doesn't work for me. Actually, I don't think I can even get 7.7 to work. So, yeah, that I am very surprised that that works. But then we have 32, 10, 16, 4. Oh, right, it's single rank, so that doesn't matter. Maxed out refresh interval. Yep, looks pretty typical. Oh, of course, we got the 420 and 69 for the 2 timings that don't actually do anything. So, yeah. Any tips on what can go lower? Honestly, this is probably the tightest MDI setup that I think I've seen. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to run TRC-DRD46. Maybe you'd be able to run RP slightly lower, but that's not really going to change performance very much at this point. Yeah, no, this is not going to get better. Like, I am, like, this is way tighter than what I'm used to, like, seeing and, like, having work. Honestly, even TRDL at 10 is kind of surprising to me. Then again, that massive amount of voltage is probably helping there. So yeah, no, I am not seeing anything that could get lower on this. Unable to get any of the lower primaries lower. Yeah, that makes sense. I can't get lower TRCD though, not to error out. That's weird. Gear down mode off, errors out. Yeah, I've run into the same thing. I'm not aware of a fix for that. Tried light BCLK, got up to 8080 with passing both long prime and Karhu, but some retraining issues later on. Nitro 131, tried higher frequencies, but 8200. And while 8100 works, as far as I know, desyncing, especially in 2 to 1, like when you desync in 2 to 1 mode, it's for like gaming performance, it's terrible. So that's why I haven't like tried, like I do kind of need to test this a bit, but like I've seen other people test it, so that's where I've got, like, that's where I'm coming from with that. Where it's like, well, this, like, testing something where it's like, well, everybody, like, there's other people who have tested this, who I trust their testing methodology, and they say that desyncing at, 8000 sucks. So it's like, well, seems kind of like a waste of time to test it for myself. So I'm just not going to bother with memory ratios where you can't sync the infinity fabric. But yeah, so I'd basically leave this alone at this point. I haven't really experimented with trying to push BCLK at 8,000. And, yeah. So this, like, what you have here is basically the limit of what I would be able to do. Like, I don't see anything that I'd change about this. I don't know of a fix for the gear down mode errors. And, yeah, and the Nitro 131, like, this is not going to get lower at these kinds of speeds. So, yeah. And, that, like, if maybe there'd be an argument that, like, 8200 with 2200 FCLK might overcome the desync penalty, but 8100, I think it's just going to be really bad performance-wise. So, yeah. Anyway, is it okay if I enable MCR and power down mode after tuning? You don't have to disable MCR. Well, on most motherboards, you shouldn't have to disable memory context restore. Because, like, when you're changing memory timings, it'll automatically retrain anyway. My FCLK is 2066. If I get FCLK, like, 2133 higher, would it be better at 6200? So, at 6200, the Infinity Fabric never synchronizes with the memory controller. Okay? There is a slight optimization of the buffers between the Infinity Fabric and the memory controller for 3:2, where it, like, is a little bit faster. But because that's, like, a very mild optimization, if you run, like, 2133 should be about the same, and 2166 should just be 2166 should always be faster, 2200 will be even faster. So 2100 will definitely be slower than 2066 off the top of my head. 2133 should be like, I think it'll depend. And 2166 is always faster. And then 2200 is also going to be always faster. The new refresh boards do 8400 for daily, 2-to-1. Which refresh boards? Oh, 1.65 volts? Well, yeah. I have... Man... You know I make videos? I don't just make live streams. I like have a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube... Oh, no, I just closed the stream chat. Give me a second. But, yeah, so, like, I have a YouTube channel. You might have heard of it. And I have videos on that channel of things like DDR5 8000 CL34, right? And if you look at the voltage that I'm running that at, you'll notice it's at 1.65 volts. I mean, you can't see because it's a YouTube video and it's, like, going through a live stream now, so, like, nobody can see anything, but actually, maybe if I go into the BIOS, it'll be more visible. Ah, there we go. See? 1.65 volts, because this is just, like, this is how you do, CL34. It just needs a lot of voltage. And I have many, many videos of this. Oh, look, we have another one. You know what I find really funny is this and this are functionally the same thing. But because 9800X3D, it's like, oh, more views. Even though it's, like, the same memory controller. It does the same things. Like, honestly, I didn't copy the settings from this video to this video, but I wonder if they're the same. Let's see. How well do I know my own, Okay, it is muted. 1.1 SoC, this is the 98, yeah, 1.1 SoC, 1.65, 1.45. And I can't imagine that this would be any different. Why can't I see anything? There we go. Yeah, 1.1. Oh, this is 1.62. So spent a bit more time making sure the voltage is more reasonable. And this also has... Wait, this is the 20... Oh, this is 24 gig DIMMs. Okay, so that's different. Yeah. But, like... Just... I make a lot of videos. If you'd watch them, you wouldn't, you know, see stuff like this and go like, OMG 1.65 volts, because I've been using 1.65 volts for low cast latency setups since Ryzen 7000. Let's see, the first incidence of me going, okay, you know what, this is just going to be easier, 6200 CL26. I think it was the 7900X? Oh yeah, let's see. This is from, literally a year, wait. Yeah, this is literally a year ago. And this is also 1.65 if I remember correctly. So, oh, and then we have another one, because yeah, this was just like, I didn't have any CPUs that would do 6400 1-to-1, so it's like the best thing I could do in 1-to-1 was just smash a bunch of voltage into it and get CL26 to work. Which, like, is extreme, like, as far as I'm concerned, it's extremely brain dead. But, like, also, I think my stream chat crashed. Oh, well, there's still submissions in the locked up chat, so, you know what? I'll just grab one of those, and then reload the tab, I guess. Actually, no, not reload the tab. I think I have to duplicate it, because, like, YouTube doesn't let you reload. Yeah, chat did crash. Run 1.7 volts daily on active 2x32 for over a year now. Yeah, like, the thing is with 1.7, I've run into some memory sticks where at that point, like, the stability starts getting worse. But yeah, if the, like, depending on the kit, like, I could totally see that working. Okay, so I grabbed a random submission. What is this? Extremely generic. Okay, so we got 30, 40, 40, 40, 28, 68, 4, 8, 26, 16, 500. Oh, this is my easy Hynix timings. Oh, this is the old ones. Yeah, this is, see, well... Yeah, the 2033 FCLK thing doesn't work. You either want to run it at 2000 or like 2100 or higher. Because there was like a bug in the really old AGSAs that gave you a performance boost when you ran 2033 FCLK. That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, so now this is actually like this is just slower than 2000 on current AGSAs. I'm not really sure what to do about that. Like the old Easy Hynix timings video. Because it's like people will still link it, I think. So like I kind of want to take it down if I replace it, right? Like replace it with a different one. That makes the most sense to me. Yeah, I think I might just replace it completely. Actually, with the really high VDD, sometimes decreasing stability, I've actually run into that happening on, like, some kits will do it even at 1.65. Though I think that's more of a 24 gigabit thing than 16 gigabit. What's funny is, I think if you're just benching, you can go all the way up to, like, 2 volts. And it'll be, like, benchable, just not stable. Will you test the Apex? If I get one, yeah. Hey, there's another submission, and this one's like something... Oh, great. So, got stuff I have no idea about. Yay. We've also got no pixels. Okay, so this is a Xeon W3680 running 2450. Yeah, 24 DDR3 2450 787. So this is gonna be LP to hypers, I think. And I know nothing about this platform, and I know nothing about super time. I'm about like super pi times either. So, um, yeah. This is really tight primaries though, but that's like LP to hyper things. Is this grounds like special Uber stick or something? Is this the memory stick that's like hell like is this wait, this is no, is this the memory sticks that are like multiple different memory hyper sticks put together into one like Uber kit? Yeah, so that's actually really cool. So ground and somebody else in uh was it Shaggy? I don't remember who he did it with, but basically they took a whole bunch of old DDR3 LP to hyper sticks and they binned them for like they binned the memory chips off of those sticks to put together three of like the best hyper sticks ever made. Oh, it was tag. Okay. Yeah. How does RAM speed bottleneck show up in games? There's no FPS increase. I mean, if the FPS doesn't improve if you overclock the memory, then it means it wasn't memory bottlenecked. Right? Like, and I don't really I mean, like, I don't really test games because most of the games I play are like not really that well. No, they are often very CPU bottlenecked, but they're also incredibly awkward to try benchmark. So I just don't bother. And it's just like, oh, the game is running like a slideshow. Well, too bad. Why would you want flat timings? Because that's like that's like a thing that people believe in. I don't see the point in Apex for AMD unless you just love benching. I mean, like the issue is with the 9000 series memory controller, the 1 DIMM per channel is probably not really going to get you any extra frequency unless you bin a whole bunch of CPUs. But I still think it's a cool board, right? And like I don't see any downsides to it, and it might train tighter PHY RDLs, which will give you a very negligible performance improvement over every other board potentially, except maybe ITX's. Are there no submissions? I mean, you can see chat, can't you? Or is... Oh, wait, I'm on top chat. Is that causing issues? No, there really isn't that many submissions, but... Anyway, I'll grab another one. Okay, so we've got a 5900X running 4x8 micron E-die, 16, 8, 19, 11, 36, 56. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. 4, 6, 16, 3, 6, 16, 560. FCLK hole at 1900. I don't think I've ever run into that. I have a... Wait, no, I think the 5700X 3D I have, like, almost does that. No. I can't remember. It did something weird, but I think it was just barely above 1900. So yeah, I've never run into the one that's like exactly 1900 doesn't work. And yeah, errors at 1933. And disabling the other CCD. Worth it to try gear down mode 1T. That might just be a matter of like setting your address command setup time to 53. Getting this to work. Like I think that's usually for gigabyte boards, but it might also work for Asus as well. As far as I know, the issue is that when you turn off gear down mode, the command timing is not aligned properly anymore at 1T, so you basically need to shift it around a little bit. So like this setting over here, when I say set it to 53, that might sound like a huge number, but that is in like, I think 255ths of a clock cycle or something. It's like it's like in picoseconds or something. Because you're basically just trying to slightly move the command timing, well, like when the command starts and when it ends a little bit, so that it lines up with when the memory receives it properly. Or like when the memory tries to like register the command. So yeah. And I think usually the setting for getting gear down mode disabled with 1TU to work, it's 53. So that's what I would try if you want to mess with that. And then the rest of this, SCL is 4.4, dual rank timings are 4.466. So yeah, the rest of this looks good. So yeah, I guess you could try that. Also for this, it might be worth messing with the VDDG voltages, though it's been ages and ages since I've messed with that on Ryzen 5000, so I can't remember which way it was, but like, if I remember correctly, there was like one, like you don't necessarily want them to both be exactly the same voltage, and I think one of them being higher than the other helps. But I can't remember in which direction it was. I think it was like high IO die voltage and low CCD voltage for 5000 series, and I kind of feel like 7000 and 9000 series are the other way around. Yeah, I think it's high IO die and low CCD voltage to try help with like FCLK stability. So you could try that as well. Oh, well, there's another super chat, so that solves that issue of like trying to find another submission. Let's see. Okay, there we go. That worked. Okay, so we got 3808. Why? Oh, you're on a 5800X3D. Right, you want that extra gigahertz on the CPU, the 2% CPU overclock. 1512. Man, these timings are slammed. I mean, well, no, that TRC DWR could probably be lower, but 15, 12, 15, 13, 26, 39. Yeah, gear down mode disabled. 1.5 volts. So these sticks aren't that good. Yeah, like these aren't great because there's like a lot of sticks that'll have 1.5 like you could do CL14. But oh well, it's not a big deal. TRS 26, TRC 39, 4416, 4812, 260, 44, 44, 66. Yay. All good. And then TRDWR 12, TRDWR 11 and WRD1 or TP at 8. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then here we actually, oh wait, this is a gigabyte board though. But yeah, you can see like the adjusted command setup time down here to get the gear down mode disabled working. So yeah, this looks good. I'll just grab another submission. $9700X with 64 gigs, and we've got, what, 30, 36, 36, 38, 28, 66. Never had a problem. It's your TRAS and TRP. Guaranteed. It's TRP and TRAS. That's causing issues for this. And my suggestion would be to set them to like 36 and 40, and then TRC to 76. And that's based on the fact that that's literally what's running on a system next to me. That's going to be in a video sometime soon, hopefully. Because, yeah, like, as far as I can tell, like, 2x32 gig kits, just for some reason, really hate low TRAS and also really hate low TRP. Do a lot of AVX 512 development, and nothing weird has ever happened while benchmarking. Yeah, I'm not... I'd still say you shouldn't, like... I wouldn't really be comfortable having a system where it's like, oh, there's, like, some software that does error out. And I bet those errors are literally just TRAS and TRP doing it. So... yeah, I would raise TRAS, and then you should be able to lower TRP a bit. Like, though honestly, even that would, like, that's not that's not super important. But I bet, like, if you just raise TRAS to like 40 or higher, that should fix the Prime 95 errors at some point. Maybe I can get FCLK a bit higher. Actually, at 6200, 2100 FCLK is about as suboptimal as it gets. But is this an Asus board? No, this is an MSI. Yeah, because it has the MS. Yeah, so this is an MSI. But yeah, so 2100 FCLK at 6200 is actually really far from ideal. Ideally, you'd want to be at like 2066 or 2166. You really don't want to be at 2100. 2133 might be an option. But yeah, 2100 is really not ideal. Because it's just, like, there's a slight benefit at having the FCLK at the 2/3 of the memory controller clock, or then having the FCLK clocked as high as possible. But if it's not one of those two things, then you're just slightly losing, you're losing a little bit of performance on that. Also, I do wonder if you couldn't get that SoC voltage down a bit. Maybe. I mean, like, it's not going to hurt anything, but if you're going to try to push the FCLK, like, less SoC voltage tends to help. Then again, like, I don't know, maybe your memory controller sucks, and if you lower that SoC voltage, it won't be able to run 6200 anymore. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll grab another submission. Got a 9950X DDR5 8000. VDDIO 1.45, can boot 8200, 8300. Memtest Pro can run for like half an hour, but VT3 fails in the first minutes. Any suggestions for 8200? I tried 1.65 VDD and 1.1 VDDP. You can go all the way up to like 1.15 VDDP. I don't think that would necessarily fix the stability though, but like you could try that. And then maybe it might be worth messing with like VDDQ and VDDIO. As in, like, maybe more VDDIO and maybe even more VDDQ, but I'm really not sure. I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to get 8200 to work, because at 8200, the Infinity fabric isn't going to synchronize at all. Though, if this is primarily a workstation, then you might actually prefer the extra memory bandwidth of like higher FCLK with higher MCLK. Whereas with like gaming systems, the priority is to have the FCLK synchronized to the UCLK, at least for 2-to-1 mode. But for production workloads, you're probably better off with more FCLK and more UCLK, even if they're desynced. I'm assuming that production workloads behave like Y-Cruncher. Because, like, for Y-Cruncher, yeah, you just want as high everything as possible. Synchronization be damned. Like, Y-Cruncher is so bandwidth sensitive that even going, like, even if you're at 8,000, going from, like, I think 2,000 FCLK to, like, 2066 FCLK will make Y-Cruncher run faster. Because it's so bandwidth starved on the 16-core CPUs. I have a theory. My memory kit is 6400 rated in early 2024. Maybe I need a better bin. I doubt that. Especially the 24 gig sticks, in my experience, seem to all clock insanely high. I don't think the chip binning is gonna be the thing holding you back. So. Oh, I didn't even really look at the timings. Got 1.53 VDD, so 36, 48, 46, 52, 98, 8, 12, 32, 616, 48, 680, 88. Yeah, some pretty standard stuff for 24 gigabit. Looks good to me. And there's another super chat, so I guess I'll grab that next. Didn't manage to get TRP below 32 without errors. Moreover, voltage doesn't matter if it's lower than 32. Yeah, I'm starting to think that let me see. So 6200. Wait, no, my spreadsheet is 32. Okay, good. I was worried that it was at 30. For 6200, but yeah, like TRP in my experience is like really inconsistent between Hynix memory kits. Like some of them can do it really, really low, and some of them can't. So that's something I do want to like try. Like I've wanted to do that. This is going to take forever now because I have so many more memory kits, but for a while now, I wanted to just like go through all of my ADI kits and just very briefly bin them for like, at what point do they just completely break? In terms of stability. Not like, hey, it runs like an hour or something. That takes too long. Like, at what point does it not work? Right? Like, what's like the minimum voltage for like, and I don't mean not post. Like, I do want to be able to run something, but I don't need like full stability. Because the thing is, like, that would be a really quick way to catch things like, oh, like certain memory kits really hate like what kind of variance there is in like TRP, cast latency, TRCD, because like casually just go like as I've been testing different kits, I've noticed like yeah, the primaries are kind of all over the place. Right, and I guess the fact that like now we have even like the memory vendors selling 6000 CL26 kits at 1.4 volts, that doesn't post on most sticks in my experience. Like, you can't even boot like CL26 at 6000. So, to me, that's like a pretty clear indicator that, like, all of the subtimings on Hynix, very consistent. You can just copy paste subtimings all day, every day, it's fine. But the primaries are like, you can't. Like, some kits don't do low TRCD, some don't do low cast latency, some don't do low TRP. And so that's like one thing where I'd really like to, like, go through my memory kit collection in 1-to-1 mode and find like, hey, where are the limits for all the primary timings across like a very wide range of memory sticks and like voltage behavior and that kind of thing. Because yeah, because like occasionally I'll see like somebody manage like this is like sometimes anyway, so yeah. So the whole like, oh, I can't go below 32 TRP is like, yeah, that just sounds like the kit doesn't like that. And it doesn't scale with voltage. Yeah, I've suspected that about TRP for a while, that it doesn't actually scale with voltage. Because I think I have a video... Because, yeah, I have an 8000 CL38 video where TRP's at 38. Right? Which, admittedly... Wait, no. 38 divided by 8 times 6.2. Oh, yeah, so that's like CL30. Yeah, so that's... Yeah, so in theory, so if that kit does like 8000, 38, 48, 38, in theory, it should also do 6200, 30, 36, 30, I think. So that's the kind of thing I want to test. So, but yeah, so I guess like... So I'd assume that this kit would then, if you were in 2-to-1 mode, wouldn't be able to do 8000 TRP38. Though this is... Oh, this is 2x32 gigs. Yeah, and the 2x32 gig setups like Halo... Honestly, I'm surprised this is stable at all, actually. Yeah. Because I can't run TRAS 30 on 2x32 gigabyte on any of the 2x32 gigabyte kits that I've tested so far. So that's interesting. So yeah, no, like the fact that you can't, like, that's normal, and honestly, the fact that you're at TRAS 30 and this is apparently stable is very surprising to me. Other than that, since this is a dual rank kit, you probably want to do something about your dual rank timings, because at 11, 11, 9, 9, like, I would try 6, 6, 8, 8, or 8, 8, 8, 8 for both of those, and that should give you a little bit more performance. But yeah, like your primary, like honestly, your primaries for 2x32 gigs are actually really good. So yeah, what doesn't CL26 need 1.6 volts VDD minimum? No. If you bin hard enough, apparently you can get it to work at 1.4, at least at 6000. What I'm actually really excited to try. Or, well, excited to try. What I'm really wondering about is that CL26 at 6000 is equivalent to CL35 at 8000. So, theoretically, you know how I have all these videos of like 8000 CL34 at like 1.6 to 1.65 VDD? I'm wondering 8000 CL32 at like similar voltage? Probably possible with a CL26 kit, assuming that it can get up to the frequency, because that is a thing that I've run into with Hynix 8i, is that some of the low-speed kits don't really want to clock that high. Like, I have a 6000 CL30 kit that just doesn't stabilize above 7600. But if the kit is capable of running 8000, it should be able to run 8000 CL32, which is just going to be the coolest. Like, funnily enough, I think I've seen a screenshot of that from an Intel system a while ago on one of these live streams. And when I saw that, I was like, there's no way. Like, how the hell? Like, that's impossible. You can't do CL32 at 8000. The memory sticks can't run that. And it's like, no, apparently if you bin enough memory sticks, you could do that, like, already. And now that there's like 6000 CL26 kits available, it's just like, yeah, I really want to try that. Actually, another candidate for like 8000 CL32 would be, there's a Kingston 8000 CL36 kit that is unfortunately extremely expensive. But I am like this, because this is 36 at 1.45, so this is not as good as the like 1.4 volt 626 6000 bin. Like, at least on paper, it's not as good. It doesn't like you're not guaranteed that the scaling is going to be perfectly linear, but usually it is basically perfectly linear. So if like 1.4 volts is enough to get CL26 to work, then at 8036 should work at like 1.4 volts or less. But yeah, so this is a 36 at 1.45. So this is like, maybe with 1.65 it would do 32. But But I think the like 6000 CL26 kit might do CL32 at like 1.55 or something. Like it shouldn't need a ton of voltage, which would be really cool. Not actually, like from a performance perspective, not really going to make much of a difference, but it looks really cool. But yeah. Anyway, oh, thanks for the super chats that are empty. Did you forget to populate them? Oh yeah, one of them did forget to populate it. Okay, so I'll grab that. Yeah, like there was a submission on one of these live streams where somebody posted 8032 and I couldn't believe it because it was 24 gigabit. It wasn't 16 gigabit. It was 24 gigabit 8032, and it's just like the 24 gigabit chips generally do slightly looser timing. So if you actually look at like G-Skill's press release for the 6000 CL26 kit, they also announced CL28 kits alongside that for 24 gigabit because 24 gigabit generally does somewhat looser primaries than 16 gigabit. So the fact that like there's been a screenshot of 8032 on 24 gigabit is just like, what? How? Is this a joke? Why would you submit this? Like, I guess congrats on making your DDR4 look like DDR3? Like, to be fair, 2133,999 for a lot of DDR3 kits is actually quite hard to run. There's a lot of DDR3 that you'd be looking at like 91111. But that does not change the fact that this is slow and dumb for a 5900X. I'm assuming this is a joke because the rest, like, these timings are too tight to be somebody completely clueless. 4400 CL17K. Funny thing is, you don't even need a very good bin to do something like this. It works fine. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying it's slow. Does it give you good mouse feel? The best mouse feel. No, I'm pretty sure when when I still had an X99 system, I remember messing around with CL8 on DDR4 at like 2133 or something. Unfortunately, I was on Micron memory chip, so it wasn't like I was doing low TRCD. It won't do CL8? What? That's a bit odd. Did you try giving it more voltage? Like, what voltage is this at? 1.65. Oh. Really? 1.65 for 9 at 2133? That's horrible. That's like barely better than 3214. I wonder if it's like a issue with the actual, because that's sometimes like when you're pushing timings either really really low or really really high, you sometimes run into limitations of like the memory chip doesn't physically support cast latencies of less than X, which might be possible. Like, I don't know what the minimum cast latency for BDI is. I'm pretty sure X99 runs it at CL8, though. At low frequencies. So it could be like a Ryzen thing where it doesn't like CL8. Because yeah, from the perspective of the memory sticks, this shouldn't really be anything all that special. Like I'm assuming 4400C17 isn't Hynix garbage, but like a BDI bin. A 2133 at 1.65. Well, yeah, it's DDR3 settings. Anyway, there's another super chat, so I'll move on to that because, yeah, this right here is gonna cause brain damage if we keep this up on screen for too long. But honestly, that would get dunked on by like a 3600 CL16 setup in terms of performance. Probably even a 3200 CL16 setup would probably beat that for performance. Okay, what do we have here? I'm assuming Samsung. Hey, Samsung. Yeah. 6200, 34, 34, 34, 34, 52. Yay, Samsung things. Getting crashes at 6400. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't tried tuning Samsung above 6200. I think the highest I've seen Samsung run at was like 6600, 6800 or something. But I think it gets super weird at that point. Like, I think it actually runs better at high temperatures than at low temperatures. Is a thing that I think I've heard about Samsung. Like I think like I've discussed Samsung memory tuning with somebody and they said like, "Oh, the memory seems to work better after it's warmed up or something." And I was like, and that can make sense because there's a bunch of like, especially for the signal driving circuitry, there's a bunch of like components that change their physical properties change based on the operating temperature. And just like colder temperature for like signal integrity doesn't necessarily mean better because signal integrity is about making sure that the like drive strengths and terminations are properly matched. And so if the driving circuitry has the like optimal impedance at exactly 65 degrees Celsius, the memory sticks actually end up more stable if you've hit them with a hairdryer than if you have a fan pointed at them, at least at like high frequencies, which is like a thing you'll encounter with like some of the GDDR memory chips do that, where like they actually run better at high temperatures rather than at low temperatures for similar reasons, where it's like, yeah, the signaling circuitry actually just is more like better matched to the physical properties of the PCB and the GPU memory controller at high temperatures than it is at low temperatures. So, yeah. So for fixing the stability at 6400, like, unfortunately, I don't know. Because, yeah, it's Samsung. Though, I feel like Samsung doesn't particularly appreciate super low write to write, so that's weird. Yeah. And that TRFC... Wait, no, I'm thinking AMD TRFC numbers, so that makes sense. That's not correct. No, I'm thinking Micron on write to write, aren't I? Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be much help with this because I've not really tuned Samsung very much, especially not on Intel. Actually, I don't think I've tried it on Intel at all. Yeah. And personally, I think instead of trying to push the frequency higher, because if you think about it, you're at 6200 right now. If you go to 6400, it's really not going to get much faster. So in this case, like I would prioritize like trying to raise the refresh interval, which actually at this point I don't think even that's going to do much, is it? Because you're at what? You're at 4047. Well, you also have a TRFC per bank. You could try tune that a bit. That helps. Like, if you've left that on auto, tuning it is definitely worth it, because the auto value is terrible. Oh, no, you're at 1.3%. So, yeah, you could shave a little bit off with some more refresh interval if the memory sticks aren't running too hot. Because the rest of the timings, like, I think CL32 shouldn't really be a problem, but I could be wrong about that. The rest of the primaries I don't think are going to change. This is an MSI board. 1T command rate might be an option, since you're at a relatively low frequency. And then, yeah, I'd like try raise refresh interval to like 44,000 or 50,000 or 60,000. Depends on your memory temperature, right? But, yeah. Because I can't think of anything else I would try to adjust with this. And I just don't know, like, if there's, like, some specific trick to getting Samsung to run high frequencies, because I've not tried to do that with Samsung memory chips, unfortunately. I do believe my YouTube chat just crashed again. Yay! And indeed it did. Cool. Thanks, YouTube. Anyway, there's more super chats, so I guess we'll take a look at those. What's this? Sir, do you not have a print screen button on your keyboard? 9800X3D, 6026. Is there any information with this? No. Why would there be? 26, 35, 35, 30, 47 at 1.05 volts. Yeah, so my question with this is very, very, very simple. Why isn't the frequency higher? It's already... So the funny thing is, last time I tried Samsung, CL32, like, the cast latency doesn't scale with voltage. But CL32 might work at 6200. That shouldn't really be a problem for Samsung. Like, I've done CL30 at 6000 on Samsung, if I remember correctly. Oh, no, the TRDs here are fine. It's DDR5. Like, they don't really need to be any lower than 8. Yeah, like, why, like, that's, like, I don't know. Is this supposed to be like a SoC voltage efficient 1-to-1 mode overclock? In which case my question is like, well, why aren't you in 2-to-1 mode then? Because, you need to be at like 6400 in 1-to-1 mode to be competitive with 8000 in 2-to-1. So, what 2200 FCLK is pure RNG? Pretty much pure RNG. Also, why of all the memory tests did you run the right test when that is the one that's like the most broken? Like, fun fact, a 9800X3D has a physical hard limit on its write bandwidth, and in this case we're at 2200 FCLK, of 70 gigabytes per second. Wait, that's wrong. That's the read bandwidth limit. Yeah, it's like 35 gigabytes per second. And the problem that this creates is because this is such a low bandwidth limit, it breaks IDA's write test and it spits out... Like, that's why when... Yeah, isn't that a thing on Ryzen that if you run Ryzen 9000 series in IDA, you get like less read bandwidth than you get write bandwidth, which is completely the opposite of how the actual internal circuitry is set up, because basically the write test just completely breaks. because it hits the L3 cache instead of the memory. And IDA is too stupid to figure out that, wait a minute, I'm hitting the L3 cache. What? No, TRD, like 4616 is a DDR4 thing. How hard is it going to be 8000 XMP no Expo on 2x24 with an MSI Tomahawk? If it's an 8000 XMP kit, it should work unless it's made by Patriot. If it's made by Patriot, you're screwed. I have some Patriot 8200 sticks, and they do not work on any Ryzen motherboard I've tried. I don't know what Patriot did. I suspect they binned them on Arrow Lake. That's like the only way I could see that being the situation. Just they made memory sticks for Arrow Lake. And so they don't work on Ryzen. But as long as you bought like something that's designed for, well, as long as you bought like a G-Scale or a Team Group or a King Bank or a Corsair kit, I think 8000 XMP should work. Or Kingston 8000 XMP, I would imagine, should also work. But yeah, I have some 8200 Patriots, and they don't work. And I have no idea why. Anyway, another submission. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, wait, I did miss something. Give me a second. Wait, why is that not working? There we go. Wait, is this the... Too good to be true? I built my PC yesterday. Thought I'd try the XMP timings for my 96 gig. Wait, what's too good to be true? This is trash, bro. At least it's not in 2-to-1 mode. Also, this is Y-Crunch, sure, but you're just running the benchmark. That's not a stress test. Actually, well, I think in terms of, like, probably in terms of ease of use, Prime 95 large FFTs is easier to set up for Ryzen systems. Though, the fact that you're at 6400 and your SoC voltage is at 1.2, okay, you know what? That is too good to be true. That is a crazy low SoC voltage for 6400. So yeah, you got really lucky with that CPU. But the timings, trash. Absolute garbage. Which, if you watch enough of my content, you should be aware of that. So, like, why would you send this in with a super chat? Oh boy. Actually, you know, well, yeah, I'm not gonna take my chances with Shiraz. I mean, yeah, we could leave that at 8. It doesn't really make much of a difference. This is probably way higher than it needs to be, but... There. And that should be a lot faster. IDA is just broken on Zen 5. Yeah, because IDA is fundamentally a bad benchmark. Okay. Like IDA's memory latency test is such a great benchmark that um there's like MSI came out with this for AM5. Um and so if we'll just read through this. Because there's a really good test from PC Games Hardware that I've had people ask in my comment sections under videos about like why don't I turn this on? Well, you'll see why I don't turn it on. So anyway, MSI is devoted to I don't care. Go away. Latency Killer is a new feature of MSI AMD motherboards that reduces memory latency to 12 by that doesn't work like that by 12%, optimizing the latency for users. It allows users to fine-tune latency and memory performance with other exclusive BIOS functions like Expo, AXMP, memory, try high efficiency mode, or manual overclocking settings. And so here you can see that you turn on the latency killer and you go from like 76 nanoseconds to 66 nanoseconds. IDA 64 memory benchmark results, latency improved by 12%, 9800X3D, latency improved by 8.8%. Yeah, so we go from like 74.7 to 68.1. Latency killer function, yeah, so this is already available on a bunch of MSI boards. Asus now has it also. I think ASRock is also planning to add something like this. And you should never turn this on. Okay, that's not true. I think there's like some edge cases where it actually benefits, but under most circumstances, it makes gaming performance worse. Because the problem with the latency killer is basically AMD CPUs have like a really complicated well, actually, this is not just AMD CPUs, but any high-end DDR memory controller and really just like modern CPU memory system is gonna have methods for optimizing high load memory access, which IDA is not. Okay? Games have to, process a lot of data every time they render a frame. IDA's latency test processes exactly 0 data and basically pings off one memory request every couple milliseconds. So the problem that creates is that for the IDA latency test, all of the fancy like memory scheduling cleverness that the CPU is trying to do to maximize memory performance doesn't work because there's nothing to schedule because there aren't any memory requests for the latency test. Whereas if you're actually running a game, you have a whole lot of different memory requests that, you can sort of shuffle them around to optimize the access latency of those memory requests, and that gives you extra performance. If you're in the IDA scenario, you just have the like overhead of the reordering process running. Whereas in gaming scenarios, you actually get the performance uplift of, reordering your memory requests to be more efficient. And so, yeah, you turn on the latency killer and it's like, oh, look, the frame rate drops in basically everything. It just makes performance worse. But it makes IDA happy because IDA's a trash benchmark. Like, that's also one of the reasons, like, Skylake CPUs have less memory latency than, like, Alder Lake, even though Alder Lake dunks on Skylake in terms of, like, gaming performance. Because, yeah, more complex memory controllers with more advanced memory scheduling techniques are gonna have worse IDA latency. And in fact, I think the lowest IDA latency ever recorded is a DDR2 system, which I mentioned earlier in the stream. I've not measured that myself. I've not touched a DDR2 system ever. Yeah. So, like, there's a reason I've just like stopped using. Oh, and I was right. IDA does do that thing where the read bandwidth is lower than the write bandwidth because the write test. Like, what's funny is you can actually kind of trigger the same effect if you intentionally run Intel CPUs at very low memory speeds. You'll get progressively more and more physically impossible amounts of memory bandwidth. Like, basically, the more heavily you bottleneck a modern CPU in terms of memory bandwidth, the more it breaks the IDA memory benchmark. So yeah, like IDA on Ryzen, like IDA is just bad and it should not be used. And end of story. as far as I'm concerned. Like this test is just not accurate to anything ever. And it's been progressively getting less and less accurate as CPUs get more and more complicated. So, yeah. Anyway, so now that other submission. Oh, and the YouTube chat tab is just being broken again. Yay. Anyway, so here we have a 6,000, 30, 38, 38, 90. What? 48. Okay. Why? I mean, okay, you know what? Yeah, this kind of makes sense. But it looks like the CPU might actually suck. Submitting to get roasted and then get advice? You get both. Well, it depends. And the tab crashed. Yay! Wait, that 2450-787 is actually weaker than the really good sticks? Oh. Cool. Anyway, so what's the... Yeah, so this just looks like the CPU's memory controller kind of sucks. It's 30, 38, 38, 38, 96, 134, 48, 20, 416, 48, 884, 12, 16, 4, 50,000. This is a very sensible setup. Like, personally, I'd probably try to push the TRAS down, but, like, if you watch the most recent video, you know that my feelings about TRAS is just, like, I don't understand why this timing exists, and I don't like it, so, yeah. Though, with most Hynix kits, you should be able to run lower TRCDs at 6,000. I'm not sure why memory manufacturers bin them so loose. Like, that's been a real mystery to me, is, like, why is 6,000 TRCD 38 a bin for Hynix? Because as far as I can tell, basically any kit is going to be able to run it lower than that, even at 1.35 volts. But yeah, like, other than the fact that, like, the memory speed here is low, which could be because, like, you're at 1.18, so, like, there is actually a decent chance that if you try to run 62, like, if this is minimum voltage for 6,000, then yeah, I could totally see 6200 not working on a CPU like this. But yeah, so, you know, I mean, you also left TRFC at 884. Not, you know, not the end of the world, but, like, you could lower that to, like, 550 or something. That's gonna slightly improve performance. So this is like to me, wait, is this some kind of like motherboard profile? Nah, a motherboard profile wouldn't set right to write SCL to 1. There's no way. There's absolutely no way a motherboard vendor would do that. But yeah, so this looks like a reasonable, very lazy setup. Like even lazier than what I usually go for on my daily system. So, we're a gigabyte latency killer. I think Gigabyte has one as well now. Like, MSI came up with it first, and then everybody else has been slowly copying it, which is just like, I don't know why they're bothering, because it evidently doesn't help anything that, you know, anything other than IDA, but then, like, the problem with IDA's memory latency test is that it spits out a number that's in nanoseconds, and so people are like, oh, this is a real latency number, and it's just like, man, no. Wait, what? What do you mean RAM not full speed? Yeah, this is JDEC, which is like, could you not find the Expo bus setting in the motherboard BIOS? Like, what? Like, I am at a loss as to what I'm supposed to, like, tell you about this. Like, I don't... Finally, somebody... Actually, yeah, this might be the first time somebody actually submitted JDEC. Like, this isn't supposed to... Like, this isn't really meant to be a tech support stream. So, like, if you can't turn on... Like, if you try to turn on Expo and it doesn't work, then, like, I can't help you. How well does 12th gen Intel DDR5 OC? I've heard of people getting 12th gen Intels all the way up to 7600 sometimes, but personally, I've never managed over 7000. And like, I would like easy would be like 6800 for 12th gen on a 1 DIMM per channel. At least with like 16 gig or 24 gig DIMMs. Anyway, yeah, so like for this, it's just like go into the BIOS, try turn on Expo, like, like, and if that doesn't work, then like the issue is like I don't know, did you like sometimes your memory won't like Expo sometimes won't work because of like well, I've occasionally had like hair get caught in the memory slots, right? That doesn't tend to do good things for memory speeds. Um but other than that, like you could have like sometimes it'll be like CPU mounting pressure could be an issue, though I've not run into that with AM5. Um but yeah, like no, this is like this is like if you can't turn Expo on, then this is into the territory of like I can't do anything about that. Not over the internet. Um oh boy, somebody is running a data center. So naturally they have 192 gigs of is this yeah, DDR5 of course on a 7500F. So not a data center. Why? Why would you do this to yourself? Bugged readout. Yeah, yeah. Um I think 2-to-1 at 7200 might be faster than 5400 1-to-1. Though being able to boot 7200 doesn't mean it's going to be stable. Timings look fine. Relatively. Unfortunately, I have zero experience with memory capacities this high, so yeah. Apparently, like MSI apparently did a lot of work on their motherboards for high density, like for high capacity support, but I haven't tested that yet. Well, actually, I don't know if I'll test that because I don't think I have 4 matching 32 gig DIMMs or 48 gig DIMMs, but I mean, I could try some mismatched ones. That might work. But that's obviously not ideal. And by mismatched ones, I mean they're not all from the same memory kit. Or they're not even like 2 of the same memory kit. Both so yeah. Timings look fine though on this. So yeah, I don't know. I don't deal with servers. Anyway, there's another submission, so let's take a look at that. And we got a 6400 CL30 on a 9800 X3D. So, lucky on... Oh, wait, no. Can you see it, chat? The big problem with this setup. Massive problem. Like, car crash level. Is this an Asus motherboard? Oh, it's an Asus motherboard. Oh, I know. Oh boy, man, this is why this right here has made me absolutely hate tuning memory on the crosshair, because Asus, in their infinite wisdom, buried the 2-to-1 mode setting at the bottom of the memory timings options, right? And my 9800 X3D, like, mega sucks at, like, 1-to-1 mode. So, that's how I ended up making this video. And, like, the number of times that I ended up booting this stupid chip in 2-to-1 mode because of Asus BIOS layout is too many times. And the worst part is, like, oh, I'd fire it up in 2-to-1 mode, and I'd just autopilot into the stress test, and then 6 hours later, I'd be like, oh, it didn't crash this time. And then I'd look at Zen timings, and it's like, oh, it's at 1600 UCLK. That's why it didn't crash. Why can't Asus just, like, you know what's actually really funny? Asus used to have the 1-to-1 mode option on the main tab. Like, I am 99% certain that they did have it in the main tab, and then they moved it into the memory timing section, to the very bottom of the memory timing section, for reasons I will never understand, because just, like, I don't know, I guess it's like normie-proofing the motherboards, because if the normies can't find the 1-to-1 mode setting, they can't make their system unstable, which, like, fair enough, Asus, but that also makes my life really difficult. Meanwhile, MSI just has it right under the frequency settings, you know, because that's where you'd want it. You'd want your memory controller clock below your memory clock. Like, you know, because they're kind of related settings, so maybe they should be next to each other instead of burying one of them in the timings tab. Can I get help? I'm pretty sure I already looked at your screenshot. Yeah, is that the one that was the JDEC setup? Wait, no, that wasn't the JDEC setup. Yeah, I said it was fine. Like, what help did you want? Like, we've already been over that one. Yeah, like, we've already looked at this. I mean, I'd lower the TRFC because I don't know why you have that at 880, but... Can you do a guide on how to post my own timings? Man, if you can't follow basic instructions, I don't want to know what your timings look like. What should I lower it to? Like 550 or something. Just like, I have tons of videos. Like, I'm assuming, wait, is this Samsung or something? No, this is going to be Hynix. So, yeah, like... Like, this is why I don't get how these live streams are so popular when, like, most of these live streams devolve into me just giving people, like, go watch X video. Like, just literally any one-to-one mode setup, and just look at the TRFC I use there, and then try use that, assuming you have A-die, because I haven't really done any videos with M-die recently. 16 gigabit M-die. 24 gigabit M-die is very different. Though, technically, if you copy 24 gigabit M-die TRFC, that will work for 16 gigabit. I will never understand how these live streams are so popular. Because, like, I hate doing them. People... plenty of people seem to also complain about the freaking, like, submission system. And yet, it's like, I keep getting asked about, like, when's the next one gonna be? They're always on Monday. Anyway, back to the very unfortunate 2-to-1 mode setup. Ran hours of Y crunch for many hours of games, no crashes. Yeah, because you're in 2-to-1 mode. Oh, man. But yeah, it's an Asus board. Asus boards get you. They put you in 2-to-1 mode, and you don't notice it until you've finished all of your stress testing. And then you decide, you know what, maybe I should just use an MSI instead, because MSI at least organizes the BIOS in a way that makes sense. Even though I'm not a big fan of the new layout that MSI has, it's still better than Asus with the 1-to-1 mode being buried at the bottom of the DRAM timings menu. Like, seriously, why would you put it there? But, yeah, so I bet if you switch this to 1-to-1 mode, you're quickly going to find out that 6400 doesn't work. Well, okay, no, I'm not going to make that bet. Like, there's a chance it will still work. It might need more SoC voltage than you're at right now. Yeah, there's a decent chance it won't work. Because, like, my 9800X3D just hates 6400 1-to-1. I want to say that I got it to run 6400 at, like, CL32. But also I was doing that on an Asus board, so it might have been in 2-to-1 mode, and I just didn't notice. So, yeah. But the timings are good. So, like, honestly, like, I wouldn't change the timings, just, like, try to get it into 1-to-1 mode. If it doesn't work, drop it to 6200, I guess. Wait, last submission had WRWRSC at 11? Well, where? Who did? This isn't. No, this is at 1. Okay. Oh. Oh. Oh! How? Man, my subconscious did kind of pick up on the fact that, like, this part right here looks a bit weird, but I just, like, didn't, like... I wonder how much that hurts performance. Because in theory, this should cut your write bandwidth in, like, half, if not less than half. Actually, might be less than half. Again, like, I'm not 100% certain. No, it has to be less than half, because even, like, I'm not sure how AMD's, like, tertiary timings exactly are encoded. Like, I'm pretty sure the 1 over here is actually a 0. In the sense that there isn't a gap between two read commands. But yeah, this is an 11, so it's either there's a 10 cycle gap between write operations, or there's an 11 cycle gap between write operations, which both of those are a disaster. How did that happen? You should undo that. That should be 1. It was like Shadow the something that this screenshot belonged to. No, I'm not gonna find. Oh, it was Shadow in game. Okay, so yeah, Shadow in game, your WRWRSC, you need to set that to 1, because I don't know what setting it to 11 does to performance, but I can't imagine it's good. It's probably terrible. What even is this? This is a 17900X 3D. Right, so this CPU even technically has enough write bandwidth to probably, yeah, like this could actually be limited by that. Oh boy. Anyway, I'm like behind on super chats now, quite significantly. 192. Okay, that was the good one. Last submission. Okay. 9800X 3D at 6200. I don't understand how people tolerate this live stream format. $9800X3D, 6200. Horrible IMC, can't handle GDM off. Yeah, mine's the same. It's the same thing. Like, there's this whole video is me sounding incredibly sad because like, this is still better than the 7800X3D in my daily system, but man, it is not good. It's worse than most of my 7000 series chips in terms of one-to-one mode. At least I think it is. But anyway, so yeah, I can't do gear down mode off. Runs 2233 FCLK, no errors at 1.2, but performance isn't stable. Yeah, well, that's the thing with the Infinity Fabric is it won't produce errors until it's completely falling over. So trying to stress test the Infinity Fabric by looking for errors is a lost cause as far as I'm concerned. Like, it just doesn't work. So yeah, TRCD plus RTP equals TRAS, performs a few percent better in games for some reason compared to lower TRAS. That would actually make sense. This is not the most insane TRAS formula that I've ever seen. Because I think recently I saw somebody who had like a different formula, and like ultimately, like, yeah, TRAS is just weird. The funny thing is, like, I've tried testing like what TRAS does with. Admittedly, I've not tried it with games. I usually try it with like not IDA. Like, I've tried it with like 3D Mark 11 and I think Pi Prime and like Y Cruncher, and I've never been able to consistently measure TRAS actually doing anything. Like, I think I tested like 30, 45, 80, 120 TRAS, and it's just, nah. Just doesn't do anything. Though on some memory kits, if you set it too low, it does break stability. So, yeah, I hate that timing. And on Intel, lowering it like boosts performance, but that could be because Intel doesn't give you direct control over TRC, so it could just be lowering TRC. Anyway, 46C on the sticks during large FFTs, CL28 for daily settings, 1.43. Proc ODT is bugged in Zen timings, set it to 48. Yeah, that's bugged out. 26, 8, 35, 30, 47, 77, 8, 8, 32, 416, 48, 372, 5, 1, 5, 5, 7, 7. Neat. Haven't tested SCLs 4, maybe one day when I'm not lazy. Had multiple run. All got better game performance from compared to low TRAS. Interesting. Which games did you test with? Someone recommends 7200 CL34 for a 9800X 3D. That someone is an idiot. Unless they're planning to try push it to 8000. Anyway, like, this formula for TRAS actually makes sense, because the minimum, like, if you think about it, like, if you go Well, I guess actually you should be adding like a read command into there, maybe something like that, because you'd have like trcdrd and then RTP, because you'd get like your act to read, read to pre-charge, and then that would hit TRAS. Now the thing is like I don't know why having TRAS lower than that would cause any issues. Because if you do have that read command, like RTP should delay the pre-charge anyway. So I was hoping to get hoping to get an answer for what game this is on. Wait, what? I don't have a ban button? Well, anyway, I guess I'll move on to another submission. Damn it, YouTube, stop! Okay, 6400, 3200, 32... Whoa, that is a low SoC voltage. Damn, that is a low SoC voltage. Basically ran auto timings at 6600 with 1.29, but it doesn't even boot into Windows. Oh. That's odd. The thing is, I don't have any chips that, like... Well, the thing... Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Because, like, I can boot 6600 on quite a few chips. It's just completely unusable. In terms of stability. So the fact that, like, it doesn't even boot for you when you can have SoC voltage this low is, like, I have no idea what's going on with that. Maybe try more VDDP as well? But, yeah, like, in my experience, it's usually just having enough SoC voltage to get it to boot. Anyway, 30, 38, 38, 32, 30, 62, 6, 8, 24, 416, 48, 544, 6, and this is single rank. Cool. So, and 65,000 refresh in total. Yeah, so timings look good. Unfortunately, for getting 6600 to work, I have no idea. Because like, with a CPU like this, I would expect it to just kind of work on its own. So if it doesn't, like, if it doesn't even boot, then it's just like, I have no idea. Because, like, on my chips, I can get into Windows. They're just not stable at all. Well, anyway, next submission. Got a 9800X3D. Oh, well, this one got really lucky, didn't it? 1.26, 2200 FCLK, 30, 37, 37, 37, 49, 86. Okay, so yeah, we've got that TRS plus RTP again thing. I mean, RTP plus TRCDRD. 8, 8, 32, 6, 16, 48. 384, 55, and then all ones. Cool. Just wondering where to go next, if at all. My DIMMs are at 1.435 limited due to locked PMIC. Big question around lowering TRAS and TRC, as I've been using TRAS equals... okay, no, so, it makes sense, kinda, to set TRAS to be TRCD plus RTP. Because those go in order. But TRP is after RTP. Like, TRP starts at the precharge command. TRAS sets when the precharge command starts. Right? So, this doesn't make sense. It should be TRCD plus RTP. Which, like, your TRP and your TRCD are the same, so it works out to be the same number anyway, but... yeah, and then TRCD plus TRAS, which makes me stable. Yeah, so you switch these around in these formulas, and it works because they're both the same. DIMMs are limited because of locked PMIC. Oh, that's unfortunate. Good, like, good settings, though. So, yeah, I wouldn't really change anything about this. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rift Breaker, some other CPU-bound games. Oh. Well, I have Rift Breaker, so I guess I could try that one. 1-to-1. Intel doesn't have 1-to-1 mode on DDR5. Intel's memory controller literally doesn't function above like 2 gigahertz or something. Okay, no. It can go up to like 2250, I think. That's 9,000. I think that getting a better motherboard would help stabilize 8400. No, I think you probably need to bin more CPUs. Let's see. Unless... Actually, well, no, I'd say, like maybe a better motherboard might make a difference, but I think you'd probably also have to bin a bunch of CPUs. I don't think just swapping motherboards would make 8400 work. Though the fact that you can boot it up at all is kind of impressive. So maybe a better motherboard would work in this case. I'm not sure. I've really not tried pushing beyond 8,000 yet, because, like, unfortunately, from a content production perspective, spending a bunch of time on things that don't work does not translate into content. So, yeah, I tend to, like, I've not really been super interested in trying to push past 8,000, because it's just like, well, like, I don't, like, even 8,200 is a huge problem for me. And so, like, trying to go for, like, 8,400 is just like, this just seems like it's gonna be a bottomless waste of time. To tune DDR5, just, like, try copy some of the settings from, like, some of the videos I've posted. Like, the thing with memory tuning is it's not really, like, there's no math involved, okay? You're basically just sitting there and trying to brute force a bunch of settings. Like, I know that makes it sound really dumb, but that's because it is. Like, occasionally there's, like, some effects that you can observe and, like, try to work with, but most of the time, especially with the memory timings, it's just like, well, because each of the memory timings just describes a very specific operation inside the memory chip, and it sets a time limit for it. So if you set the time limit too low, well, the thing isn't going to happen quickly enough, and it's just going to crash. And if you set the time limit really high, well, it's just going to be slow, right? Like, that's it. It's not really much more to it. That's like the JEDEC spec for DDR is basically we're assuming that the memory chip is going to be able to complete this operation in under X clock cycles. And the number that they choose for X is really high so that there's a lot of margin for error. Right? That's like why all the auto timings are so bad. Because it's just like a huge error margin on there. Now, some timings are required to be relatively low by spec, like TRDS is by spec supposed to be 8. But then a lot of the other ones is just like, whatever. Set it sky high and hope for the best. Running latency killer, so lower test speed numbers in Karhu. Yeah, and also lower gaming performance. Because IDA's latency test is trash. Like, there's a reason I don't use, like, well, the funny thing is, I didn't actually test if the latency killer hurts performance, but when I saw the description for that, like, that setting in the MSI BIOS, I was like, oh, this has to be, like, this is bad. This looks like an IDA latency hack, which is, like, because the IDA latency test is so unrealistic as far as, like, real-world, memory-intensive applications go, anything specifically designed to help the IDA latency test that comes with a warning about how it might lower CPU performance probably ruins performance in anything that's actually memory intensive. So yeah, and then PC Games Hardware recently actually tested it, and oh look, my theory was correct. It is bad for performance. Imagine that. Flight Simulator especially seems to hate it. Mismatched via RDLs, but did you try what board is this? Oh, this is an ASRock. Yeah, but on ASRock you have the setting for trying to get them matched up. 8200 attempt. Failed VT3 after 3 hours. Can't get it to train consistently. Oh. Yeah, there's a reason I've just, like, that's why I have a bunch of 8,000 videos and I don't have any 8,200 videos. I'm not interested in dealing with this kind of behavior. Especially when you end up, like, potentially losing performance because of the desync. So, like, honestly, like, when pushing for the higher frequencies above 8,000, like, first thing I would do is check if it actually improves performance, and then I would worry about if it's stable or not, right? Because stress testing something that isn't even faster is just a waste of time. If you can't prove that it's faster, why even bother stress testing it? So, yeah. Is DDR5 8000 2-to-1 faster than 1-to-1? 6000? Oh, yeah. Like, if you want to compete with DDR5 8000 2-to-1, you need to be at least at 6400 1-to-1. That's about equal in terms of performance. What are your thoughts on the X870 Apex? I want one. I don't think it's a motherboard that I would recommend to most people, but I want one. Anyway, let's grab some more submissions. Also, we've been going for over 2 hours, so I think at this point, I'm not going to be taking any more. Oh, wait, I should have... Well, the timings look... Yeah, the timings on this look fine. 34, 16, 46, 40, 48. RTP 12. 88, 8, 12, 32, 4, 24. Yep, looks good. Though, not stable. And these ones... I mean, you know, if you know how to set them for 8,000, I'm assuming you know how to set them for 6,000. Or 6,400. Oh wait, this wasn't mismatched PHY RDLs. It's just different because this is an 8,000 setup and this is a 6,400 setup. I didn't notice. Oh well. Though that 8,000 setup is probably going to perform better with 2,000 FCLK, at least in terms of latency. Which is funny considering that you're using the latency killer. Anyway, another submission. A Intel setup. Interesting. On B760. 7,200, 34, 45, 45. Oh, this is auto, isn't it? Is it auto? No. No, it's not auto. Wait. No, it is. Is it? I can't tell. This is a weird mishmash. Because, like, this over here, like, TRDSG, really bad. This is single rank, yeah. So, like, TRDSG is really bad. Like, this is weirdly tight. This is weirdly loose. This is really bad again. This is fine. This is really low. This is fine. Yeah, well, this is loose. This is relatively low. This isn't real, though. That's, like, this timing over here is just calculated from this timing, because Intel CPUs don't actually have a WTRS register. And we have TRDS at 6, which is, like, okay, and then TRDL at 10, which is, for 16 gigabit, not really okay. This should be 8. TRFC2 and per bank are set reasonably, and TWRs at 58, which is kind of high. Though, the main thing I would change about this is I would just set TRD SG to 16 instead of 20. Then the read to write from 24 to 20. And you know what? I'm just going to do this with Paint. Okay, so like this, 16, 20. Honestly, this might even work at 18 instead of 20. And this would probably work at 8, is my guess. And actually, if you're... I don't know if an ASRock board... Wait, is this an ASRock? What is this? Oh yeah, it is an ASRock board. So I don't know if you can change TRP separately, but if you can, you should be able to run, like, actually, yeah, you should be able to run, like, 38 or something for TRP. Actually, even lower than that. But you know what, let's just leave it at 38. And this, let's say 60. Or even lower, potentially. Anyway, I will actually stop taking submissions at this point. That, like, the super chats that just came in, I'm still doing those, but And I might grab a few more submissions. I'm just not going to take any more new ones. So, anyway, damn it, YouTube. Oh boy. X99. Higher than 2133 is broken. Yeah, that's been one of my that's been one of the things I've wondered about with the super cheap X99 boards is did they actually design a proper memory topology and good BIOS support for the memory or not? And looks like the answer is nah. Memory voltage is broken. Lower primaries crash after about 5 hours. Lower secondaries may be possible. I had to flash a hacked BIOS because the default one doesn't have multiplier control. Well, yeah. Is this even quad channel? Because I'm pretty sure some of these are actually like dual channel because they couldn't be they didn't bother to okay, it is 4 channels. So what's this running at? 2133? Okay, yeah, 2133. And I'm guessing 1.2 volts. So you're going to be, yeah, you're going to be stuck at 13, 12, 12, 12, 2, 2. That shouldn't work, but whatever. 220, 32,000, 4, 4, 8, 6, 6, 13. Yeah, this isn't going to get tighter. Because, basically, this over here is, read to write different rank. Well, this is single rank, isn't it? Yeah, because you've got 32 gigs. So... CCDWR... Where's CCDL? Yeah, this is not going to get tighter. Yeah. Maybe you could run lower WTR? Well, that's not, it's not really going to achieve anything at this point. Anyway, there was another super chat, so I guess I'll take a look at that. Zen plus OCCT, most important voltages. RAM is stable, CPU is not. Most likely CPU. 2 CCD1 cores crash on standard BIOS settings. Oh, motherboard. Oh, this is an Asus board. Because I have to run some positive CO anyway. Yeah, but if you start ECLK overclocking, you're going to need to run more positive curve optimizer. The fact that it doesn't work on auto settings, I've actually run into that a couple times with some CPUs, but usually it's been tied to specific motherboards. I'd have a chip that it doesn't work in a motherboard, and it works in other motherboards. And I suspect it's just related to that chip being kind of borderline on power delivery, and it just doesn't agree with that motherboard's power delivery configuration. So, yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at these timings here. 8,000, 36, 48, 48, 44, 40, 84, 8, 12, 16, 4, 16, 800. That's really high on TRFC for 24 gigabit. It's not like it really matters because you're at 65,000 refresh interval anyway, but yeah. And then SCL's A8, RTP 14, TRDWR, wait, 18, 4, and single rank. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't like the timings look good. I don't really have any suggestions for like trying to fix the instability because like the suggestions are just like, yeah, run more voltage. So yeah, shame about the CPU. So far the only because I think I have a 5000 series that's like not happy on some motherboards. I think my 5950X like doesn't agree with some MSI boards or like one MSI board. Something like that. But yeah, I haven't run into any issues with like 9000. Well, no, I do have a 9950X that seems to really hate MSI boards, but like it's an engineering sample CPU, so you know, those tend to be weird. So it's not really anything like noteworthy in my opinion that like an ES CPU just doesn't behave. Anyway, there's another super chat, apparently because people can't read instructions. But I guess I'll take a look at it anyway. And we have 6,000, 30, 36, 36, 36, 48, 84, 8832, 516. Not really sure if these settings are any good. Got this RAM from a seller who recommended me to use his custom settings. I've only lowered the SoC to 1.1. It seems to be quite stable. No problems at all so far. Yeah, it looks good. I'm not a fan of the SCLs being set to 8 at 6,000. Or the 9.9 over here. Probably doesn't make that much of a difference, but yeah. Is Intel MLC as bad as IDA for testing memory performance? No. Should be better. But I'm just not a fan of like these super synthetic memory tests. Cause yeah, like I prefer memory tests that like actually try to do some kind of calculation instead of just trying to copy data in and out of the memory. Well, 128 nanoseconds for ADI is fine. That's gonna be fine. Like you can even get away with like 120 nanoseconds or lower sometimes on some kits. You see more 9800X3D being better than your findings? I don't bin CPUs, so... And I've not really, like, I think I've seen somebody bin a bunch of 9800X3D, and they got, like, really lucky with a lot of the chips. So, yeah. Anyway, I think I'll grab one more submission, and that'll be the end of the stream. Oh, well, this is a unique way to make a submission, isn't it? Got Ryzen Master. Oh no. 30. Oh boy, it's in the weird disorder. Okay, so we got 30, 38, 68, 30. 500, 400. Wait, this is just the easy Hynix timings, isn't it? 28, 8. Oh, wait, no, it isn't, because these are both set to 8. 48, 6, 16, 12, 1, 4. Is this single rank or dual rank? And then 16, 38, 300. Oh my god, this is the worst order of timings I've ever seen. Like, actually the worst order of timings that I've ever seen. And I think that'll be it for the stream. Also, I think my YouTube tab crashed again. Did it? Yup. Oh, there's another super chat. Wait, did I miss any super chats? No, I did do that one, so... For your help, set 1-to-1 and 1.24 SoC. So far, so good. What is the highest you would reasonably set if I have some instability? For SoC voltage? Honestly, I'd be perfectly happy to set it all the way up to 1.3 volts. Like, the limit is at 1.3 volts because that's the limit, right? Like, AMD literally stops you from raising it any more than 1.3. Anyway, so yeah, that'll be it for the stream. I guess I'm gonna do another one next Monday. I don't understand how people keep watching these, but here we are, I guess. And like, I'll be honest with you, I do like the super chat revenues. So yeah, easily more like, well, this is a funny thing is like, how do I count like the Patreon support when it comes to like video production, right? Because like it might take me significantly longer to make a video than it takes me to make an incredibly mediocre live stream. But then it's like, I don't know, right? It's like, what if there's Patreon supporters who support the Patreon because they like the terrible live streams? Only Mondays hurts? You know, I wonder if like the decision, my decision, because me moving it from Sunday to Monday was like a pretty kind of random thing, and now it's like I wonder if that was like like my subconscious trying to kill these live streams. If I put them on Monday, people are likely to watch them less. At least I don't do them at 4 a.m. or like no 6 a.m. 6 a.m. European time to absolutely guarantee that nobody is in the correct time zone to watch. What? Mention the live streams? No, I don't want to promote these. I don't understand how people like the whole thing. I like the whole time. I feel like this is just a massive dumpster fire, and I don't know how it's allowed to continue. You all have terrible freaking normies and their low standards for entertainment. Because, like, quite frankly, like, all the settings I go, like, on the off chance that I change it, like, comment that, hey, I think you should change your settings, I'm just going to give you settings that have been featured in some past video, probably. right? So, like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching, and goodbye, I guess. I'm gonna go try to, like, produce the video about that 2x32 gig setup that I've been stress testing recently. Anyway, goodbye.